Hello, my name is Daniel Shin, and today I'll be your tour guide. We are currently standing in 경복궁, one of 5 palaces in Seoul. 경복궁 was built in the late 14th century and was used until the 20th century under the Joseon dynasty. 경복궁 was built in harmony with courtesy, righteousness, and virtue, and King Taejo, who was the first king of the Joseon dynasty, ordered the founding contributor, Jeondojeon, to name the palace. Jeondojeon named the palace Gyeongbok, which means to be in great blessings for 10,000 years. Now, let's move on to our first destination, Sujeongjeon. This is Sujeongjeon. Sujeongjeon was reconstructed in 1865 by King Gojong, and he reconstructed Sujeongjeon alongside other buildings, including Gyeonghaeru. Sujeongjeon was originally surrounded by cloisters. However, those cloisters were destroyed during the Japanese invasion period, and the area is now surrounded by grass. Another interesting fact about Sujeongjeon is that if you look to the side of the building, you can see an area that was previously occupied by a traditional Korean heating and cooling system. The cooling system and the heating system were both used throughout the different seasons of the year. The word Sujeong in the name Sujeongjeon means to properly conduct political affairs. Now let's move on to our next destination, Gyeonghaeru. This is Gyeonghaeru. Gyeonghaeru is regarded as one of the most beautiful buildings in Gyeongbokgung Palace. Before, there used to be a wall that surrounded the building. However, that wall was taken down to better allow tourists and foreign visitors to view the building. If you take a look at Gyeonghaeru, you can see that there are 2 floors, a very unconventional characteristic. If you take a look at the buildings around Gyeonghaeru, you can note that many and most of the buildings only have 1 floor. Buildings in Korean palaces differed greatly from those in China and Japan. Buildings in China and Japan, especially those in palaces, were built very tall. And that was because in China and Japan, people thought that it was important for the king to be close to God. However, in the Joseon dynasty, people thought that the king needed to be close to the environment. And so most buildings in Korean palaces were built very low to the ground. But Gyeonghaeru is an exception. If you also look at Gyeonghaeru, you can see that there are many stone pillars. Those stone pillars were decorated with dragons and lotus flowers. However, during the Japanese invasion in 1592, the whole building was burned down, and when it was reconstructed in 1865 by King Gojong, the building was rebuilt without the engravings of lotus flowers and dragons. If you take a look to the left of Gyeonghaeru, you can see a small artificial island known as Mantaesan. Mantaesan is an artificial island that was built by Yeonsangun during his reign as king. Yeonsangun was a king who was known to rule recklessly and used his mother's death as an excuse to rule like a tyrant. Now let's move on to our next destination. This is Gyeongcheonggung. In 1873, King Gojong built Gyeongcheonggung to gain political independence. In Gyeongcheonggung, there are spaces for the king, known as Changandang, and spaces for the queen, known as Gyeongnyeonga. In Gyeongcheonggung, 2 major historical events took place. One was the death of Empress Myeongsong. Empress Myeongsong was killed by Japanese invaders as Japan viewed Myeongsong as the biggest obstacle to the colonization of Korea. The death of Empress Myeongsong is known as the Eunmi Incident, a truly tragic event that took place in Gyeongcheonggung. On the bright side, a major historical event that took place in Gyeongcheonggung was when King Gojong imported 750 light bulbs from the Edison Company in 1887. In that time, when King Gojong imported hundreds of light bulbs, it was the first time when electricity came into Korea, which was obviously a historical moment for the palace. That is the end of our tour today. I hope you enjoyed my explanations of the different buildings in Gyeongbokgung Palace, and I hope that you visit Gyeongbokgung one day. Thank you.